Hey everyone, and welcome to Hero's Journey Physio Fitness. Our mission is guiding people to reclaim their health and become self-reliant. I'm your host, Dr. Cameron Hogue, and joining me is my co-host, Annabelle Rios.
All right, guys, we are going live in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, guys, to another episode of Hero's Journey. Today is a special day. We have a guest that someone we wanted to interview for a while. We've watched some of his YouTube videos, aka the Big Beef Bull, very popular with us. Cam, who's this guest that we have here?
So today we have Paul Horn. I'm actually just going to read his bio, so I'm not insulting the man here. So Paul Horn is a mediocre lifter with woeful average genetics who spent over 20 years trying to simplify the process of building a strong, lean, muscular physique. He holds a master's degree of art from New York University, and he earned his starting strength coach credentials in 2012. Paul owned and operated Horn Strength Conditioning, which was the first starting strength affiliate gym on the West Coast from 2013 to 2020. He dedicated his career to helping people of all ages and athletic abilities build a stronger, healthier, and more useful bodies through a radically simple approach to fitness. He was originally from Los Angeles, California, but now resides in Boise, Idaho with his German Shepherd, Clint. But I got to ask, man, before we get started, how's that? I see him down there. How's Clint doing? I know he was a little sick earlier this week.
Yeah, Clint had it's just real bad diarrhea. Oh, this is a great way to start the podcast. Just talking about diarrhea. It's gonna go. We can only get better from here.
Right? There's only one way up. Yeah, when you said he got on your carpet,
yeah,
like, that's rough.
Yeah, he's normally pretty solid, but he was bugging me. You know, we kind of have our schedule down, and he was not leaving me alone, and I was ignoring him. And then I came out, and he just like all over the carpet, and it's been a rough couple days, but I think we got him dialed in now. He's feeling better, so I think.
Heck yeah,
yeah. All right, guys. Well, this is a lot of fun. So
all right, so see you later.
Yeah, we covered all the important points. Like, I think we're good.
So we do have a lot to ask you and talk about today. But you know, one thing, if people look at you and they see your physique and see you've written books and know that you're a coach and you've been doing for a while, sometimes that might be intimidating for some people and saying like, well, how did he even get started? Like, you know, I haven't started yet, or I'm still beginning. Like, so maybe we can start with just how did you get started in your health and fitness journey?
Oh man. Yeah, we were talking about you, buddy. So I was a vegan in my early 20s.
Really?
And yeah, I was a 160-pound vegan. It's a long story. I was reading I was a friend's mom recommended a book, and it's called Diet for New America. It was from the guy who was the heir to the Baskin Robbins ice cream empire. And he like walked away from it and wrote this book about why you shouldn't eat any animal products. And it was so graphic. And then at the same time in college, I was the only elective that would fit in my schedule was a environmental psychology class. And the teacher was a vegan, lifelong vegan. And so I'm reading this book, and then I'm going to class, and the guy's saying the same thing. And I'm this impressionable, like 18, 19-year-old.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I guess I need to be a vegan. And so, you know, it was a phase. And I was doing that. And then I was a camp counselor every summer at a beach camp in Santa Monica. And I met these two guys, Mike and Tom, who are now still my best friends.
Nice.
And I was in punk rock bands, you know, I was like a skateboarder.
You had long hair?
They were like, at you know, longish.
Okay.
But that I was sort of the alternative thing. And these guys were straight up frat bros. And I always thought those guys were like jocks and whatever. And but they were so cool. Like, and we spent the whole summer together. And one day they were like, hey man, you want to come to the gym with us? I think you'll like it. And I was like the gym. And so we went to like a 24-hour fitness. The first exercise we ever did was tricep extensions, like LTEs.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
First moment in the gym, he hands me the bar. He goes, all right, so just bend your elbows, lower it down to your forehead. And I just slammed it into my forehead. And for the rest of my first session in the gym, I just had this like big red dot on my on my forehead, and I just felt like an idiot. But you know, we went through it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then, you know, so just to hang out with them,
Yeah.
I would go to the gym with them, and my muscles started like seizing up.
Mm.
So I would do, you know, some, like, we were just doing total bro splits. Nobody had any idea what they were doing. But I would get these like horrible cramps. And one of these guys, you know, in his bro wisdom was like, hey man, I think you need to eat more protein.
I think I've heard
like,
that word.
yeah. And I was like, I don't even know what's protein. And so I decided after like 3 years of being a vegan, I was like, okay, I like this lifting thing.
Yeah.
And I remember they tell you, like, if you haven't had meat in a while, it can really upset your stomach. So I remember I picked a day where I didn't have like any classes, and I sat down with a can of tuna fish.
Have a Clint moment.
And I was like, okay, here we go. And I just ate like tuna with like wheat thins or saltines. And 30 minutes later, I was euphoric. I've never felt better in my life. I was like bouncing off the walls. Because
Wow.
keep in mind, this was the time when, like, you know, it's a lot easier to be vegan now. There's like vegan fast food chains. There's vegan foods, like plant-based options at Costco. There was none of that. And so like I was like, something was missing from my diet. Like I wasn't getting my nutrients in, obviously, because I felt high and like so good. And that was it. So then it went from like I was eating tuna every day, and then eggs, and then chicken, and then eventually beef, and just, you know, and then through the process just really liked the fact that I could go into the gym and lift weights, and then like my physique would change, and like girls in my class would be like, have you been working out? And like that felt really good.
You're like,
And,
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. So you're right. Yeah. So it's worse when they ask, like, you know, they're like, do you work out? You're like, oh God. Just
you can't tell.
So yeah. Oh, it's devastating. It's devastating. So yeah. So then I was working out, still doing bro stuff, you know, reading blogs, like early, like T-Nation, bodybuilding.com, trying to piece together, you know, how do you do this and whatever. And then, long story short-ish, I ended up having to have a shoulder surgery because nobody taught me how to bench press. And I tore my labrum bench pressing incorrectly. And so this was the first time in, I don't know, 10 years that I was out of the gym. I had to be out for 3 months.
When was that tear?
And
how old were you?
I think I was 30. So
you've been going for about 7 years at this point?
Well, let's see. I started lifting when I was 20. So
10 years.
Yeah. About 10 years. And so I was like, you know what? I really like lifting. I realized no one taught me how to do any of this stuff. You just, like everybody, you just watch the other idiots in the gym doing their thing. And you're like, you just assume that guy knows what he's doing because he's stronger than you. But like, he doesn't know. He just learned from watching some other guy. So I was like, I should look into, like, I have 3 months. I should try and figure out how to bench press and not have to have shoulder surgery. And I started looking, and I stumbled across some blog posts from Mark Ripito. And I was like, who's this, like, Texas football coach guy? Like, whatever. Just like, I'm not doing that. Like, this guy wants me to squat all the time. Like, that's nonsense. And
I'm gonna make your chest bigger.
Yeah, I was like, squatting, like, who squats? Like, nobody squatted. Like, the squat rack was always empty. No one did it. And, you know, you did leg presses, leg curls, all that stuff. So, and then he just kept like popping up in my world. And I finally got my hands on Starting Strength, the book. And I read it, and I was just like, oh my God, like, this is the best thing I've ever read on, like, this guy explains this in a way that I've just never heard. It's like the most logical explanation of how and why you should lift weights that I've ever read. And so I was like, okay, well, 3 months, you know, I read the book. I bought into it and I went back to the gym 3 months later. Keep in mind, I'm training at my college gym as an alumni. So it's me and a bunch of like 22-year-old dudes. And these were guys that I would, do bro stuff with. And I came back and I'm squatting 3 days a week. I'm doing the starting strength novice progression.
Yeah.
I'm the only guy with weightlifting shoes and I'm the only guy in the squat rack. And these guys are like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're squatting 3 days a week? Like, that's insane. I was like, I don't know. This crazy guy in Texas was like, I should do this. So I'm going to do it. And within like 3 months, I was basically the strongest guy in the gym because I was doing a practical, logical training program rather than just dicking around,
Yeah.
And then the same guys were coming up like, dude, what is going on? Like, you've gained like 10 pounds, 15 pounds. Like, you're squatting like 3 plates. It was like a huge deal to squat 350. Like, no one squatted 315 in the gym. Now it's like everybody does it. And I was like, yeah, this starting strength thing. And so I became like a huge fan. And my girlfriend at the time, as a Christmas present, sent me to the starting strength seminar in Texas.
That's a good girlfriend.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to meet Rip. I wanted to like see the gym that was in the YouTube videos and the book. And like, so I went and they don't do it anymore, but they used to just, if they thought you were good, they would just say, hey, we think you can be a coach. Do you want to take the written exam after this weekend? And like, I was like, okay. So it was like me and one other guy out of the group and took the written test, passed, got my certification. I was officially a starting strength coach. And yeah, then just kind of went from there. I don't know if you want me to keep giving you the history, but
no, that's
great.
Yeah. So that was how I became a starting strength coach and then ended up opening a gym a couple years. Like, I worked the seminars with Rip for a while and then opened a gym, a starting strength affiliate, and then came up to Idaho eventually to help open up the franchise gym up here.
Heck yeah.
So that's kind of it. But it all started with stamping my forehead with an LTE, with an easy curl bar.
That's amazing. I had a little similar experience. My wife, I think it's a starting strength affiliate gym, or there was a starting strength coach back in her hometown of Amarillo, Texas. And when I got into starting strength, we went to go visit her family, and she was like, Cam, I found a gym down there. Do you want to have this person actually like look at your form and like coach you? And I'm like, I love that. So she like set this thing up, and I went, and this lady she watched my squat, she watched all the main lifts and like critiqued me and stuff. And it was best money I spent that weekend. So
do you remember her name?
I don't. It almost sounds like a Russian name. But I don't think at the time, I don't think she had it. I think she was either training for it, and she was now the owner of that gym because that owner moved someplace different and
Gotcha.
so starting another gym there. But I'd have to go through my email and find.
Yeah. I'm sure I know her.
But all that was kind of similar to you. It was a new experience to walk into a gym and just see a couple of people, with weightlifting shoes, a belt, and like squatting, and not just on machines, because that gym wasn't set up for it. I mean, I think there was like a CrossFit area in that gym.
Yeah.
But again, there wasn't a bunch of machines. It was just barbells and pull-up bars and stuff.
Yeah, people who weren't around then or into fitness then don't kind of realize the major shift that happened all at the same time. It was everything in the 90s, 80s, 90s was bodybuilding. It was Muscle Beach and Schwarzenegger and Ronnie Coleman and all these, and Jay Cutler, and it was all about bodybuilding. And then 3 things hit at the same time. It was like within a couple years of each other. CrossFit came out, starting strength came out, and P90X came out. And all 3, so CrossFit and starting strength were the first, organizations are pumping out this message of like, it's not about your biceps. It's about what you can do. It's about like, who cares if you have abs? Can you deadlift 500 pounds? because that's what really counts. Nobody even thought about that, like,
Yeah.
and then at the same time, P90X, the DVD, Beachbody. Yeah, but they actually spent millions of marketing dollars convincing people that working out was supposed to be hard. Because everything else, all infomercial products before that was like the Thigh Master. It was like the Total Gym with Chuck Norris, like 5 minutes a day, slides under your bed. You don't even have to really sweat, and P90X came out and they're like, no, this is going to burn. Like, it's going to be real hard. And so this message, came out like, first, it's going to be hard, and it doesn't matter what you look like. It's about what you can do. And it just, everything shifted, all the machines went out, barbells came in, chalk, warehouse gyms and industrial parks popped up everywhere. And like, everybody wanted squat racks. And
which
now,
which is a great message, because I mean, as people age, like I see people all the time in our therapy clinic that they can't do anything. Not only are they just weak, but they can hardly get out of a chair. They can't kneel on the ground. And I mean, we even see people that do go to the gym who do have muscles that they can't even get their arms over their head. You know what I mean? Like you can tell they don't overhead press, or even like they can't even do a pull up. Like they're not functional. They have muscles, but they don't have anything else.
Yeah. It was an interesting time. And now, fitness, it's all cyclical. All the, trends come and go. And about, I don't know, 5 years ago, you started seeing everything shift back towards machines and bodybuilding, and just, you got a hint of it. And now, you just started seeing like gyms would pull a squat rack out and put a, functional trainer in. And because people were demanding it, you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And you realize what happened was we were all doing bodybuilding, and then we all started doing basically powerlifting, and we all got fat and hurt and older, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we all got to a point where we're like, you know what? Doing some like cable flies seems pretty cool right now. Cause like, that seems like a lot more fun than me trying to PR my deadlift again. And so now what's happening is the pendulum swung one way from one extreme to another. And now it's coming back to the middle, where it's like the right approach is kind of a blend of, we're going to do some, look, you got to squat, you got to deadlift, but you also can do some curls. Like, that's okay. Yeah. And you can use some machines for assistance work as long as you've done your heavy stuff. And like, that's a good place to be. Like, that's, it keeps training fun, because as having gotten into the starting strength world, like it can be brutal. Program is amazing in the beginning, because you're like, look how strong I'm getting. Look how much bigger I'm getting. Like, this is awesome. And then what it takes to eke out another, 2.5 pound jump on your overhead press is like, oh, like, is this it's even
about an LTE? My
it's
forehead.
Just everything's a grind, and you're like, I don't even like this anymore, Yeah, and that's kind of where we are. So we're back to this sort of mix, which I think, it's a good thing.
Well, let's dive deeper into that, because I do want to talk about your books, and I'm sure this is, as you're saying here, is almost like your part of your training philosophy. But Paul has a book out called Radically Simple Strength that came out in 2022. It's basically, it outlines like a no-nonsense barbell-based training program, easy follow nutrition plan designed to help average guys create a solid base of size and strength. I think one of the statements in it is helping average guys build awesome bodies.
You like that? About, there we go.
Do what?
Gotta have a tagline, right?
No, I mean, well, how did you even come up with that tagline?
Yeah.
Oh God, I don't know. My gym in LA, I had, my tagline was ordinary people, extraordinary strength. And so I kind of liked the vibe. I wanted to use it, but I wanted to be clear that this is a book. This is not a book for powerlifters or, D1 collegiate rock star athletes. Like, those guys don't need my help. Those guys are fine. And I'm not, if you want to be like an elite powerlifter, like, there's better coaches than me. Like, because my gym was in Los Angeles, my gym was in this area called Silicon Beach. So it's right next to all these tech companies, YouTube, Google, Facebook, like Snapchat. They were all like right down the street. So I would get a lot of nerdy software developers, these
Heck yeah.
young guys. Yeah, they were like young guys that had like they're 25 to 35. They made great money. They had like nice apartments, nice cars. All the pieces of the puzzle were there, but they just like didn't have girlfriends. They realized like there's something missing in my life, and it's because I'm 135 pounds, and all I do is sit and code all day. And, they go on, they do their research. They go on Reddit, they go on, YouTube, and they find starting strength. And so then they would go, and starting strength is so logical that, if you're a software developer, like you like the system, you can see it. It makes sense, so they would come in, and I just loved working with those guys. Like, it just like, it was like this, you get this like nerdy, skinny dude, and, you train him for 6 months and he puts on some muscle. He starts like filling out his t-shirts, and then 6 months later he comes to the gym and he's like, hey coach, like I've been talking about the gym a lot, like with my friends, like, would it be cool if my like girlfriend came by? And I'm like, oh yes, you're getting laid. Oh, my job, it warms my heart,
I did my job
and they would
right.
bring these cute girls in, and you're just like, this is amazing. Like, look at all that deadlifting and squatting. Like, look, you're, so when, when you write a book, they tell you should write it for like one person, like have an avatar in your mind, or else your advice is just too generic. If I'm trying to coach people in their 70s and also women, and also, it's like it's too generic. So I just picked my favorite demographic of these kind of software developer guys. And I was like, and I tell the story in the intro to the book. I was at a bar, and I'm an introvert, but, and I'm looking around and just kind of people watching, and like, there's this guy, and he's one of these guys. He's one of these guys pre-lifting,
Yeah.
and he's trying to like have fun, and he's like trying to like talk to girls, and, but he's shy and he's kind of pudgy. And the whole night I was like, oh, like if I could just like get my hands on you for like 6 months, like I could change your life. And I thought, what would I want if I could walk over and hand that guy something and just be like, just do this, like, just ignore just do what's in here. And I promise you will be happy. Like, your confidence will go through the roof. You'll be happy with how you look. Like, it'll work. Just do it. And so I just went home and started writing it. Like, what is the plan that I would tell a guy like that? And that's Radically Simple Strength. So it was, as early in my coaching career as a starting strength coach, I was like, buy the book Starting Strength. And then you actually put it into the market and you test it with real clients, and you have to do this balancing act between, doing the program the way the program's designed, like as optimally as possible. And then the realities of like, people don't, they're not like dedicated lifters. Like, some of them are. Sometimes you get guys who are like all in, and they're great. They're super fun to coach. But a lot of times you get a guy who's kind of like, like, so how do you keep it fun? How do you keep them engaged? How do you keep them from getting frustrated when it does get to become a grind, as you guys know? So I, came up with all these strategies and little tweaks to the original Starting Strength methodology that like seemed to work better for my clients. And that's sort of what went into the book. How can we make the workout shorter? Like, you got 45 minutes to an hour and they got to go. So you can't do the Texas method because you're going to be in the gym for 3 hours. Like, no one can do that. I mean, the subset of like hardcore dedicated lifters could do it, but I would never give it to like to 75% of my clients because they're just not going to do it. And it's going to beat the hell out of them. They're going to quit and then they're not going to pay me anymore. So I had to figure out how do we do this well enough that they get results and they still enjoy it and they still like doing it, because if you don't like doing it, you're going to quit and then it's not good for anybody. So that's really like where the book came from and sort of the overall message of it.
Heck yeah. Well, so compared to like other books, what would you say makes Radically Simple Strength different maybe from other books?
Good question. I would say that it is it's probably more rigid, particularly in the nutrition section. So first of all, I included a nutrition section, which was a gap that I saw with Starting Strength, and that it's not a knock on them. The book is what the book does what the book is supposed to do, which is like, this is how you get strong. And then just like drink a gallon of milk and get your body weight to 275, or Rip's going to yell at you. Right. Fine. Like, I get it. Like, that's a very clear message, but not everybody wants to be a 275-pound powerlifter. And so, there was a gap, I thought, with the nutrition stuff.
Yeah.
So the lifting part, it's not different. It's, it's a series and progression of templates that worked for me and for my clients, and sort of a guide of like, do this, then do this, then do this. And here's how you know when you're supposed to go from one to the next. And like, but every training book does that. So, I mean, any good one will have, the template part is easy. I think what would really separates it would be the nutrition section, because I laid out meal plans, and most fitness books, the nutrition approach is, okay, here's the formula to calculate your total energy expenditure, and then multiply it by your activity level. Now you have a calorie number. Now divide that into protein, carbs, and fat, and a lot, and then figure out a way to hit those macro targets with these variety of foods. And it's like so generic and overwhelming that nobody does it. Like,
yeah,
they just look at it and they go, I don't know if I'm going to do that. So I was like, the guys in my gym would ask me for nutrition advice, and I would tell them kind of like, well, you got to be like just vague. And the guy was like, look, one guy in particular, he goes, just what do you eat? And I was like, well, I make this bowl of rice and beef. And he's like, can you send me the recipe? And I was like, yeah. And I just sent it to him, and he's like, this is amazing. Thank you. This is exactly what I wanted. I don't care. I'll just eat that. And I was like, oh, okay. So there is a little, there's a group of people who respond to this. So I basically just created these meals, adjusted the amount of food in each one, and then divided it into, if you're 160 to 180 pounds, this is the diet you're going to eat. Like, these meals, everything's laid out. Once and then if you're 200 to 220, and then 240 to 260, it's the same meals. It's just like the amounts are different. And it's very specific and very rigid. And my thought was like, I'm just going to tell you what to eat, and then just eat, if you're 180 and you want to gain weight, eat the 200 meal plan. And when you stop gaining weight, eat the 240, just, and the other way, it works the other way too. If you're 260 and you want to get down to 220, just eat this meal plan until you stop losing weight, and then switch to the other meal plan. And it's like, you're just manipulating how much rice, how many protein shakes you have, like very, very simple. And I remember I got the first draft of my book back from my editor, who's not a lifter. He's a runner. And he was like, I would never do this. And I was like, oh shit. Like, maybe I should take this out. Maybe I should like go more generic, like more broad, like just, get 200 grams of protein, and fish is a good source of protein, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, everybody does that. And that was a risk. And I put it out. And yeah, there's some people who are like, I need more variety in my diet. I like to eat a bunch of different things. I love to cook. It's like, okay. So I did include a thing that was like, here's how you can sort of make your own meal, but still adhere to the plan. That was like a something that the editor suggested. But I got a ton of response from guys who were like, thank you. Like, just tell me exactly what to eat and I'll do it. I don't even care how it tastes. Like, just, and so I feel good about that because I was really nervous about it, but the response has been like, this is exactly what I needed. And again, it's not for everybody, but for a lot of guys, it just simplified that process. So I think that's really one of the things that separates the book from everything else that's out there, which is like, it's very specific.
No, I definitely think there's a market for that. Some people just prefer to be told, eat this and you'll be set. And I guess was your nutrition, is there a specific direction that you, I guess, lean towards? I know there's all these different fad diets out there, or you just more so on the, I don't know, whole foods, or I guess what I don't want to say it can't, but which direction do you lean more towards?
I
He's
I don't
still
follow.
vegan.
Yeah, secretly, I'm still.
I know those muscles don't come from beef, Paul.
I mean, yeah. Look, you've seen gorillas, right? They just eat bamboo or whatever, or leaves, and they're just jacked. So no, I don't subscribe to any camp. I think you should eat like a grown up. Like everybody. This is the thing about this is the thing about diet, right? Diet is the hardest part of this to fix because, I told my clients, like, I can make you squat. Like if you will get your ass to the gym 3 days a week, like I will make you squat and the program will work. Right. But I charge a lot to come to your house and slap donuts out of your mouth. Like I just can't be there all the time. You got to make food choices constantly throughout the day. All you have to do to get your work to train productively is like just drive to the gym 3 days a week or 2 days a week. Just show up and let your coach motivate you to like once you get there. But the food thing is it's a 24/7 battle and you got to do it every day. And so it's tough. Like it's tough to keep people motivated, but we all know what to eat. Like if you're fat, you shouldn't be eating the foods that you're eating. Like no one thinks that like donuts and drinking a bunch of beer is going to get them lean. So the hard part isn't that it's not the knowledge, it's the actually doing it. It's the motivation to do it. And that is the hardest part of it is like, how do you give someone the motivation to follow any diet? I don't care. Look, every diet works. Every diet that restricts calories, which they all do in some different way, whether it's eliminating a food group or a time restricted feeding window, whatever. It's all calorie control. But it's finding the thing of like, why do you want to lose weight? And if they don't have that, they're not going to do it. So the training part helps because you want, that's a reason you want your squat to go up. You want to build muscle. You want to look better. So, you have to eat a lot of protein and because it will impact your performance. So that's one, but the fat loss part is like, that one is tough. And now it might be a moot point because Ozempic's out and you can just take that and apparently you're good. So I was, my next project was to do a full on like diet book because a lot of my guys are like, look, we want more info on diet. We want more options, more. And I was kicking it around and I'm working on something, but at the same time, like, all these Ozempic fat loss drugs come out. It's like, should I even do this? Like in 5 years, is anybody going to need to follow a diet?
That also makes your squat go up from what I hear.
It apparently fixes everything, but makes you stop drinking. Like, yeah, it's crazy. But But yeah, to answer your question, you know what to eat. You know you should eat
Mhm.
food as close to how it was killed or how it was pulled out of the ground as possible. Don't eat a lot of processed foods, but like I eat processed foods, you
Mhm.
know, I still drink. Like you got to find the balance there so that you enjoy
Yeah.
and some people need to be incredibly rigid. Like we just did this fat loss challenge on our Reddit group where we all tried to lose weight before the holidays. And I'm a huge advocate of having a cheat. If you're dieting, having a cheat meal at the end of the week. So if you lost weight that week, you should reward yourself on Saturday night and just go nuts. Like disgusting nuts. Because for me, it gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Right? You're not depriving yourself for 12 weeks. You're depriving yourself till Saturday. Right?
Mhm.
And if you don't lose weight that week, if your weight went up, then no cheat day. You didn't earn it. Right. So you're like motivated. You're like, no, I want to. And it's this fun night where like during the week, I'm like stocking up at Costco. I'm like, I'm going to eat that pumpkin pie and I'm going to like, and then Saturday night rolls around and you just like gorge yourself on everything you've wanted to eat. And it's like the best. It's so fun. The next morning, you're so disgusted with yourself that like, I mean, my best cheat day, I gained 10 pounds in one night. Like I was like 190, 195, and then I was 205 the next morning.
Wow.
And it's all water. It's just, because by the end of a cut, you're so carb depleted that like the salt, it just,
Yeah.
and the carbs just sucks. So that was my best one. And then, but then you're on the toilet the whole day on Sunday. You just feel awful. And Monday rolls around. You're like, I don't even want to eat anything but salad for a couple days. So
I'm
then
gonna fast.
that pushes you to like Wednesday. So you only have to really diet for like a day or two before you get another cheat day. So it works really well. And I forget why I was talking about that, but
Balance. We need some balance.
yeah, you gotta find a way to stay motivated, keep it fun, and shrink it. But it's not like I said, everybody knows what to eat, what not to eat.
Yeah.
And so if you're not losing weight, it's like there has to be a why.
Yeah.
And you can't, I've talked about this before, but every person who's come into my gym, a lot of people would come in and say, hey, I just lost 50 pounds. I just lost 100 pounds. And now I want to get stronger. I spent the last couple years like doing that. And now I really want to start building. And my first question is always like, tell me about the moment you decided to lose the weight. And they all have it. There's a moment where someone took a photo and their gut was hanging over the edge and they were embarrassed. Someone yelled at them, for being too fat for a seat, and they had to get a seatbelt extender and like delay the flight.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's it. And those people they will lose the weight. The people who are like, maybe I want to lose 10 pounds. Like, good luck. Because it doesn't matter. You can always start tomorrow, And so that's why we did this challenge, because I wanted to lose some weight and I was like, I'm not doing it. So maybe if we do it as a group and we check in every Monday, and it worked. Like, even though I knew what was happening, it still worked, where I was like, all right, I got to show these dudes on Reddit what's up. So they started kicking my ass. Dude, I was like, maybe I'm not going to do this. Like, maybe I want to. And then I saw the numbers and I was like, oh, you guys are actually like going to beat me. Like, I can't let that happen. So anyway, it was fun.
Yeah. What are some common mistakes that you see people make in the gym, maybe in the kitchen? I know we've talked about some of that already, but what are some common mistakes?
I mean, there's obviously technique mistakes. So, and there's a ton of those.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest mistake that guys in my target market, average guys who are kind of new to fitness, new to strength training, is they don't pick a goal. They, you're trying to do two things at once. You want to have a ripped 6-pack and you want to have a 500-pound deadlift. And so they do the strength training thing for a little bit, and then they kind of feel fluffy. So then they decide they're going to cut, and they just don't. They end up not being very strong and not being very lean and not being very muscular. And you have to pick a goal. You cannot do two things at once. You can be lean. You can get strong and you can be lean, but you have to do it in the right order. So if we, and most people most men are under muscled. So even if they're fat, even if they have some body fat on them and they think I need to cut, it's like, you probably don't need to bulk like the little skinny guy, but you don't need to cut. You need to get strong. You need to spend a couple years building muscle so that when you cut, you actually have something to show off. So if you're 165 pounds, 185 pound doughy dude who's never lifted, and you cut down to 10% body fat where you're just like, you look ripped, you're going to look like you have cancer because you just don't have any, there's nothing to show, right? Because you never built any muscle. So, if you want to, like I've said this before, but if you want to be a jack dude when you're 40 or in your 30s, you got to spend your 20s getting as big and strong as possible. And this is where Ripito is right. If you have a young man in his 20s, it's like, don't worry about body fat. Just get put on as much muscle mass as you can while you have poisonous levels of testosterone and a pretty easy college schedule. You don't have kids. You don't even have a job, maybe. Like, all you got to do is go to class and eat, right? And lift. And you can sleep 14 hours a day. Like, just
glory days.
Like, I squandered that. So many of us wish we could go back with what we know now, because I would have been a 275 pound powerlifter for sure. Because when you go to cut that off, you hit 30 and you go, okay, now I want to get lean. It's like, okay, fine. You're going to be like 225, but you're going to be just you're going to be a monster.
Yeah.
Like, just ripped to shit. But that's the way you have to do it. Right. And so that's the biggest mistake, is like, they'll do one thing for a little bit and then they want to cut, and then they program hop. They'll stick with, a program, and then it kind of gets hard. The squats are scary. And so they're like, I'm going to do this other program. And it's like, it's not the programs don't matter. The programs in my book are fine. But there's a bunch of good programs out there. Just pick one and get the weight on the bar heavier. Like, if in 10 years you're lifting more weight than you were year after year, like, it's working, right? If every one of those years you can do more weight, then it worked. And if you can't, you screwed it up, right? If you reset too many times, but all of this, it just takes a lot of trial and error. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. It was like, let help you learn from my mistakes. Cause I figured all this out the hard way. It was just getting in there and making a ton of mistakes and wasting so much of my productive training years trying to navigate this. And now it's like, hopefully I can help some people, but they won't listen, everything I just said, there's a guy who's like, yeah, I still think I need to cut. It's like, dude, no. That's why, we had a question about this on Reddit the other day. Same kind of guy. And I put strength goals in my book, like tier 1, tier 2. This is what an average guy should be able to do by the end of his novice phase, and not everybody's it's a generalization. And then if you hit the tier 1 goal, this would be the tier 2 goals. So it's like, you should be able, by the end of your first, like, 6 months of 6 months to a year of training, give or take, you should be able to squat 315 for 1 rep. You should be able to pull 405 for 1 rep. bench 225, press a plate, right? 1 rep. Like, that's completely doable. And if you haven't gotten there, like, you need to get there. Don't worry about anything else. Just you haven't done the work to be, or you haven't earned the right to think about doing a different program. Just do this one, make some minor tweaks as needed, get some help on, from a coach or something. But like, if you can't do that, like, don't even talk about cutting, because you got a long way to go. You know what I mean? And that was the question on Reddit. This guy's numbers weren't anywhere near that. And it's like, he wants to cut. It's like, no, man, I tried to light a fire, and I think he's getting back on track. But
Nice.
Nutrition wise, the biggest mistake would be, well, I think it's too much variety. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is that they treat training and nutrition as different things, right? So in principle, like, you have a training program, and the training program tells you what to do when you go to the gym. You might not want to do that thing that day, but that's the program. So if you expect this program to pay off in increases in strength and size, then you do the program, and it's like, I don't want to deadlift every time, but like, it's not curl day, it's deadlift day. But we don't treat our diet that way, right? You don't treat your diet like, no, this is the plan. I'm going to eat these meals, and I'm not going to eat anything else, because, it's like, if I'm supposed to be doing overhead pressing, and I, want to one day just throw in some tricep extensions that are not part of the program, and then I have to press tomorrow, like, it's going to ruin my prep. Like, it's going to blow my program.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, look, here's your meal plan. Even if you calculate it and you come up with a template, and then you want to eat like cake, it's like, well, that's not part of the plan.
Yeah.
So, you have your workout, you have your meals, right? You have your exercises, and you have your sets and reps, you have your calorie amounts, you have your portion amounts. Like, it's the same thing, but people associate food with like social events and comfort and pleasure and indulgence, and it's a treat. And it's like, it can be, but are you happy with how you look? Because if you're not, you should try treating it like your workout. Like, you don't skip days, you don't skip meals, you don't do exercises that aren't part of the program, you don't eat foods that aren't part of the program. Like, if you have that mentality, you're going to do way better, and so I don't know how you guys are in terms of like how you approach food, but there are guys like me and a lot of my buddies who just like, we don't like food. Like, I like a good dinner, obviously, but like, food is fuel. It's just what I have to eat to hit, to do to allow my workout program to pay off.
Yeah.
So I don't care if I eat the same thing every single day. Like, I like it. I don't even want to think about it. I found the things that I like and that are decent, and like, I just eat those. There are people who, they need tons of variety. They can't tolerate eating the same thing every day. And like, and I'm just, again, that's not a knock on them. People are different, and I get it, but
makes it hard.
It makes it hard. It makes it hard to stick to a plan. So,
yeah,
if you can adopt that mindset of like, I'm going to treat my diet like I treat my workouts, I think you'd be better off. And I think that's the mistake, is that people don't do that. They think it's a separate thing.
All right. Annabelle, you asked about the second book?
Yeah, I wanted to transition into the second book. I know, so we kind of understand you need to be able to hit those strengths numbers, do it for about a year, maybe longer, until you hit them. Because I think in your other book, you're switching from more of a strength training to more of a bodybuilding type programming. So I guess talk us through that shift.
Sure. So like I said, I noticed the trend changing in the sort of fitness culture, moving back to out of pure strength training, powerlifting, and back into incorporating some bodybuilding. I noticed it because it appealed to me. I started messing around with more bodybuilding stuff like I used to do when I started training back in college. I was like, I kind of miss these. I kind of miss doing cable work and using the functional trainer and stuff like that. So I started incorporating it back into my own training. And a lot of it was because of what I mentioned earlier, which is a lot of us in my coaching world and my, the buddies that went through this journey with me, we all got to a point where we were fat and hurt, and we weren't competing anymore in powerlifting. So just the thought, like, I didn't care if I set a squat PR. I didn't care if I PR'd my deadlift anymore. Like, there's a point where every lifter gets to where you have to look at what it's going to take you to get to that next PR. And you have to decide if it's worth it. And a lot of times, like, what it would, the level of dedication, the grind, all of the things that you would need to do to eke out a 10-pound PR. And you get to a point where you're like, I'm not willing to do that. It sucks. It's not fun. I've done it and I just don't care. And so what do? Cause you gotta lift. Yeah. So you got to find a way to make it fun. And so you got to pick a different goal. Well, maybe it's to, PR some assistance exercise, or maybe it's to start working on bringing up the lagging parts of my physique. Like, one of the things with, a pure powerlifting approach is that your chest usually sucks and your shoulders suck. Like, because overhead pressing and bench pressing don't really build, like, the traditional powerlifting version of a bench press. It doesn't really fill out your pecs. I mean, it's intentional. You're kind of trying to manipulate the range of motion so that you can lift as much weight as possible, but it doesn't really like hit the pecs the way that some of the assistance exercise, the way dumbbells do, the way flies do, incline presses, stuff like that. Same thing with shoulders. Like, overhead press is a great exercise. It sucks for filling out your delts. Like, lateral raises run circles, like 20-pound lateral raises run circles around an overhead press for just giving your shoulder like shape. And I was like, I'm pressing 200 pounds. My shoulders look like shit. Like, yeah. And then I was like, maybe I'm going to start doing some lateral raises. And like within like 3 weeks, I was like, damn, okay. So it's, the book came from, look, I don't want to grind everything out anymore. I'm tired of getting hurt and doing the powerlifter thing. I want to focus more on my physique and get back into some bodybuilding. And I think a lot of other people would too. So the idea with Radically Simple Strength, the first book, was like, here's how you get strong, and here's how you manipulate your diet to facilitate that, and then to cut off the fat when you get to that fluffy point. Because if you do it right, you're going to get a little fluffy, and then you can cut. And so that was Radically Simple Strength. And then you could just do cycles of that for as long as you want. But if you wanted, you're okay, I'm strong now, I'm stronger, I like the way, I like my numbers, I get how the diet thing works, but now I kind of want to focus on like some bodybuilding stuff and just looking better. And so I wrote this it was supposed to be an ebook. It was originally just an ebook of like, here's what I would do. Cause I'm always trying to stay a couple steps ahead of my guys, so whatever I'm doing now, like, they're going to find out about later. And so this is what I was doing. And guys were asking, like, look, what do I do now? Cause I'm kind of where you were. I don't really care about PRing anything. And so I came up with this. I was doing this program that was a lot of assistance exercises, a lot of bodybuilding stuff, but still had a logical progression for squats, deadlifts, bench, press, like at least maintaining that strength and then possibly continuing. But it really spreads out the frequency. So you're not squatting heavy every week. You're not deadlifting heavy every week. It rotates. And so it's a lot more tolerable. It's a lot more enjoyable because you only have to deadlift heavy once every 2 weeks, and it still works. And that was one of the things. It's like, yes, the bodybuilding stuff really helped my physique and it was fun. I like being in the gym again. I like messing around with these things, but it also, I noticed as a welcome side effect, my numbers started going back up into PR territory. Like I wasn't even planning on hitting PRs anymore.
Yeah.
And just by giving myself more recovery time, my deadlift started to go up. My squat went into PR territory, and it's like, okay, I'm never going back to like
just pure
like.
power.
Do you remember squatting 3 days a week like that? It's unfathomable to me now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I squat once a week, and only once every 2 weeks it's heavy, and it's still working. But so that book is there's more bodybuilding stuff, less frequency with the heavy lifting, and it's a very low volume program. So I always tell people, like, this is not a beginner program, because in order to make a very low volume program work, and I'm talking about like some of the templates in there have like one set. You go in, which is what I do now. It's like you go in, you do one set of squats, and there's rules for when you add other set. Yes. But in order to make that work, you have to know how to make the absolute most out of that one set. You got to know how to hold your form together and just grind out that fifth rep or whatever to actually generate that training stimulus. And novice lifters don't know how to do that. They just don't have the experience. They don't have the neuromuscular efficiency. So that's why they need more volume, because you're going to make up the work with lots of sets and reps, because you need practice to develop that skill. But the goal, like the way I look at the trajectory of any lifter, is like it starts with like low intensity and lots of volume as a novice, because you just don't know how to handle heavyweight yet. You're not good at it. And what should happen if you're training sort of logically is, as the intensity starts to go up, the volume starts to fade away till you get to the point where where really the priority is intensity. So, so it's like very little volume, and I love it. My workouts take like 30 minutes now, and the numbers are going up, but you have to earn that right. Yeah. You got to learn how to do that. Or if you just take a intermediate lifter even and put them on a program with one set of bench press, it's like, it's not going to do anything, because he doesn't know how to push into that intensity yet. So, but over time you can get there. And so that's really what the book is about. It's like bodybuilding, less volume, more assistance exercises, and kind of where do you go once you've hit these levels of strength to keep enjoying what you're doing and mix it up a little bit.
What are your top 5 isolation/accessory exercises?
Ooh, okay. Good question.
The Paul Horn special.
It's after 6, right? What time is it for you guys?
It is 9:00 or 8:09.
All right. So we're both after 6. All right. We can have whiskey then, right?
Yeah.
How long has that been sitting there?
I've been staring at it, man. I was like, if I do this,
Clint,
like, okay, you gotta wait till 6 o'clock before you can it's like 6:10 right now. Okay. Top 5 assistance exercise. Okay. LTEs, lying triceps extensions with an easy curl bar. Not with dumbbells. That is in terms of, assistance exercises are supposed to assist the main lift, right? Mm-hmm. So the main lift being bench and press. As far as in my experience, no other assistance exercise, main exercise relationship has the same payoff or effect as LTEs do on bench press and overhead press. You take a client who's getting, a novice or something, and they're starting to stall on their bench and press, and you throw in LTEs, just like two sets, 8 to 10, just throw it in once a week, and they will just get unstuck. It's dramatic. It works every time. So, and it makes your arms look better. So LTEs for sure.
Okay.
Lateral raises, dumbbell lateral raises for aesthetics, for just, making your shoulders pop. Absolutely essential. What else? Oh, lever rows. So barbell rows. I don't know if you guys played around with barbell rows. They are the worst exercise ever. I hate them. I never feel like I'm doing them right. I never feel like I'm hitting what I'm supposed to hit. You're using hip extension, you're using knee extension. It's just like the margin of error with like how vertical your back angle. It's like they're impossible to coach. They are
They're
so
almost like
hard
the push
to.
press in a way.
Oh yes,
like where you can't really.
Yeah, it's like what? Like are we using your delts or are we using your quads? Like what? Why are we doing? I hate barbell rows. So but a lever row is, it's like a chest. Well, if you think about like a T-bar row or like a chest supported row, so but with a chest supported row, like it's hard to move a lot of weight. So there's so if you get a landmine, where you can stick the end of a barbell in it, and then there's a handle, and I'll give them a plug. I don't get any kickbacks for this, but there is a handle made by, oh God, I'm going to botch it. I think it's iron. It's called the Iron Grip or Iron Master multi-grip row handle. I think that's it. It's like 115, 120 bucks, I think. And it's a adjustable handle that slides on the end of a barbell. And then it has a neutral grip and a prone grip, and it's V-shaped. So you can do, you can basically do T-bar rows, and it just it's like night and day. Your back, it'll smoke your back. You can feel your lats working. You can feel. And so for back work, like lever rows alternating between a pronated grip or a neutral grip and a pronated grip, like absolutely every week. I got two more. What else? Barbell curls. I mean, obviously you got to do barbell
for the
curls,
girls, baby.
It's another one where it's real easy to cheat, and you're not even working there's a, that's why they're assistance lifts is there's a little bit of momentum allowed, but not, a lot. So, you got to do those right. And what else is in my program that I'm missing? Cause I know there's another one in there. Yeah.
We can do.
This isn't really an assistance exercise, but I'll mix it in there. I have swapped out standard barbell bench press for a very low incline bench press. So same thing, barbell, but I just take it up to about 15 degrees. And like I was talking about earlier with the standard powerlifting bench press not really building the chest, there's something about that low incline that just shifts the touch point a little bit and lets you get a much better stress. And so I would say that, I would consider that the fifth one, just like very low. You can even, if you don't have an incline bench, you can even take like a 45-pound plate and put it under the bench. And just that little bit of angle, it's like you feel it in a completely different way the next day if you do it right. So that's probably it.
Nice. You got the closing question, Annabelle?
Oh, yes. So it's a question that we're wanting to ask a lot of the people that we've been interviewing is, in your opinion, what do you think that some people are able to change long-term and others aren't?
I mean,
in your experience that you've seen.
You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier.
Yeah, you gotta
breaking point.
you gotta have a why. You gotta have a why. Why are you doing this, right? And if you have, sometimes it's like a breakup, and here we go now. Okay, he's like, dude, are you guys on the last question? Like,
we're about to be on the last question. This is the last question, Clint.
Do you want to tell them about your diarrhea, buddy? Do you want to come full circle on the podcast? Yeah, you gotta like, motivation is so hard you can't give someone motivation, Like, I'm sure you guys know people who are in these like horrible relationships and you see it and you're like, this is not going to work out. you know, or it's just like one of your buddies who's with like a horrible girlfriend. You're like, dude, how do you not see this?
Yeah.
And you can yell at him all day. And it's like, when he's ready, like one day he's going to wake up and he'll be done. But until that day comes, like, you just got to be there. Like, listen, man, I'm here to support you, whatever. And it's like the same thing with family. Guys who are into lifting are always trying to I want my wife to lift. I want my grandpa to lift. You know, I need my dad's getting old. I need him to lift. And I had a guy one time call me from Australia and tell me, he was like, my uncle is in his 80s. He's falling apart. He can, you know, barely get around the house. Like, I'm a huge Starting Strength fan. I love Rippito. I need you to call him and convince him to come to your gym and lift weights. And I told him, I was like, look, here's my phone number. Okay. If there's one thing I know from doing this for 10 years, like running this gym, it's that you can't convince an 85-year-old man to do anything he doesn't want to do. So when he's ready, this is my number. You have him call me and we'll go and then we can talk. But I am not in the business of trying to convince someone that doesn't know they need to lift weights to lift weights. Cause like, I want to talk to the guy who wants to know, do I do CrossFit? Do I do, you know, this program, that program? I know I need to get stronger, which, like, I'll talk to that guy all day and make my case. But, you know, it's in anything that you do in life, you have to have a reason to do it. And I don't know that we can give it to someone. I think it's, you know, you got to go to the doctor and he's got to tell you, you know, he's got to scare you, or you got to fall, or you got to struggle picking up your kid, or I don't know, whatever it is, you gotta, it'll come when you're ready. But, you know, it's, and though that's the difference. It's the people who have that and the people who just heard that they should. And we're like, okay, I don't want to, so I'm going to pay this trainer. And then if I pay him, then he'll make me do it. It's like, those are the worst clients. Cause like, they don't want to be there. You know, they don't want to be there. They're not motivated. They're like, I thought you were going to like motivate me. I'm like, I'm trying, but you know, like, if you want to go do yoga. Like, I can't make you want to do this. Like, you gotta, fortunately for my target market of average dudes, most guys want to look pretty good, you know? Yeah. It's kind of, they're like, I want to,
that's kind of their why.
Summer's coming. I want to like, just look. Yeah. Their why is like, I just want to be jacked. It's like, yeah, okay. I never really thought about it. This is sort of a genius segment I picked. They just come with a why, you know?
Yeah. I mean, as you were saying, I'm like, it seems like their why is that they want to get jacked.
They're like, I want to get jacked so I can get laid. And okay, that's a
why.
That's not going away. That's a persistent desire. So hopefully I'm here for the long run then to help with that.
Help those average guys.
Average guys.
Paul, we have a few mediocre, one might say.
You know what? Embrace it. Embrace it. You know, like I said, the point of one of the things I said in the book was like, look, we're trying, our goal is above average strength and below average body fat.
That's great.
Right? That's it. Yeah. This book is not, none of my books are for elite level anything or 4% bodybuilding in a purple thong with a spray tan. That's not me. It's like, I want you to be, if you walk into a room with 100 guys, I want you to be in like the top 10, you know,
that makes sense,
of just above average and below average body fat. That's it. And that's attainable. We can all do that, and we can still enjoy a glass of whiskey at night and live our lives. And all right. So you were saying.
So I got a few fun rapid fire questions. Shouldn't take too long. Just kind of pick your brain real quick. Trying to you know, answer as quick as possible. Okay. So first one is who's stronger, you or Brogy?
Oh, Grant.
Machines or dumbbells?
Oh, come on.
They only get harder from here.
Machines. I'd go with machines. Yeah, I go with machines.
Okay. Upper body or lower body?
Unfortunately, lower body.
Okay. Push-ups or pull-ups?
Oh, pull-ups. Chin-ups.
Chin-ups. Chins.
More bicep. Come on,
That's right.
man. Come on, man. Dude.
CrossFit, yay or nay?
Oh, God. There's so much to say there.
Yay or nay?
Just generally speaking, yay or nay?
Yeah.
Nay, but with an asterisk.
Okay.
With an asterisk of they have done some good things. Anyway.
Okay. Long runs or sprints?
0 runs. Sprints. Reluctantly sprints. Long runs. Absolutely not. Ugh.
Well, thanks for answering those fun rapid fire questions.
Dude, those are so unfair. Like,
I know. I'm sorry.
We could do an hour on the CrossFit one. And
we'll have to have you back and talk about CrossFit.
Dude, anytime. Yeah.
So I guess, where can people find you? What else are you working on that you want to share?
Sure. The hornstrength.com is my website. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, they're all at hornstrength. And we have but our Reddit community is really the thing where I spend most of my time.
Okay.
So it's Reddit r/hornstrength. We have a great community there. A lot of the most common feedback we get is that this is one of the most civil places on the internet. Everybody is very cool and very supportive. It's probably because we're not big enough for all the trolls to come in, but everyone is like very nice, which is rare. And we're just trying to help guys navigate the books and figure out what to do. And then, so I'm there every day answering people's questions. If they've bought the book and they just want to know what to do next, like, there's tons of information on there. And then every Friday on YouTube, I do a episode of Form Check Friday, which is basically, we have our Reddit guys. There's a Reddit thread that opens up every Wednesday, and you can submit your videos and then Friday, without looking at them, I turn the camera on and I go through and I just do form checks, and that video goes up on YouTube Friday night, Saturday. And it's free. So if you want to get your form checked, and if you want me to yell at you about shoving your knees out and driving your ass up, but it's my favorite day of the week. Like, I just love it. Like, it's so fun to and it just blows my mind that every week it fills up. So I usually do about 5 to 8 of them, and I lock the thread when I hit that number. But we get new guys every week, and guys that are returning who their squat was just a disaster, and 2 or 3 weeks later, it's like they're just crushing it. So that's probably, and all the old episodes are up on YouTube on my channel. And that's probably the place to interact, would be Reddit. Reddit, or drop your form into Form Check Friday, and let's take a look at it.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for being on, man. This was a blast. It was fun to pick your brain on these things, and we'll definitely have to have you back in the future.
Appreciate what you guys are doing, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
definitely. And like we like telling you guys, remember, you're human. You should not seek perfection, but data improvement.
See you guys.